Okay, good morning, afternoon actually. It's at Love Clark. Yeah, it's me, the mirror. You see? Game over, it says. It's for straight white married couples, Americans. Look at my hat. Jack in the Box. Look, the point is, what this video is about. I'm gonna move in closer. This video is gonna be for you guys because alright, first of all, this is a shout out to somebody that I said was getting cuffed by the Jewish strings pretending to be the Nazis, okay? Fascist lemming, getting cuffed all the time, right? Bending over and having to get cuffed. Well, now looks like I'm gonna have to restate some things because of the way he's standing up. It's right standing. Even if you don't agree with some of the philosophy, it's right standing. It's right. I wanted to talk about, well, what I started out to talk about was Cracker Barrel. Okay? Now, Cracker Barrel is a restaurant. Since I live in California, a lot of my audience is Californian people. They've never been to Cracker Barrel. They don't even know what it is. It's a restaurant. I'm pretty sure it's back east. It's mostly southern. And I was going to do a video about how the people are complaining that they want to change the name of Cracker Barrel because they're insulted by the name Cracker Barrel. And if you know what the origin of the Cracker Barrel is, you know what cracker is and why they would need a barrel of food to feed people. Okay, a lot of people. Anyway, so the point is that people are upset about Cracker Barrel. I love Cracker Barrel. It's a great restaurant. It's a family restaurant. Never had a problem. Nobody's ever had a problem with the name of it, ever, you know. So when I saw that they were attacking Cracker Barrel, I told my wife, I said, well, what this is a systematic attack on all of our white history and our southern history, especially our white southern history and southern pride, okay, or southern heritage that we want to hold and history we want to keep, okay, to understand. Now, not everybody wants to be in agreement with the way people lived back then and how they live now. Okay, I'm going to stroke my beard. See my beard? Anyway, so now how they live now and how they lived then is totally different. Okay. Now every kind of person has their heroes, and Old Hickory's one of my heroes. Okay. Now, you know, a lot of people, there's presidents that, you know, they're Freemasons and all this stuff, secret societies where we can demonize them all day long. But look, now what I'm talking from is the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror is the side that's the flesh side. This is what the flesh wants to do, but it's also something. It's the man. Okay, so the man is speaking. Okay. This is not just, because this is programming. This is subtle programming. And what this is getting me angry. These are the reactions they want me to get. So they show me this stuff, like they program this stuff for me to see on Facebook and on YouTube or whatever, right? Because like I said, I started out and I told my wife, look, this is just an attack on our southern heritage and white stuff. And I said, this is like them attacking our monuments, you know, and how they've been slowly saying they want to tear down anything, basically anything that's a southern white president or white male that did anything, constructed anything, and had any cause. And well, if they have to attack him, and the only thing they have to say is, oh, he was a slave owner. That is. I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic for people that were enslaved, but how many of them people were enslaved? How many of their people do they claim, okay, to have enslaved in their own country, in their own history before, because up to that time, slavery was starting, had been looked down upon, of course, because people see it and they say, oh, I don't like the way it looks. Do I agree with it? No. What I believe is the Torah says it's supposed to, if you're going to own somebody, you have to own, basically inside your own race. You cannot own a slave outside of your own race, okay? Or a servant, or indentured servant. But the point is what I'm saying about the Cracker Barrel is, I started to tell my wife about this, and then I put on somebody who I've been listening to recently, because I don't agree with all the philosophy, but I have to back them up on what the moral of the stories, okay? The moral of the story. And so this is a shout out to the fascist lemming, who was getting cuffed, but now it looks like he's doing the cuffing. And he's cuffing them back pretty hard. They're going to have to bend over, it seems like, because guess what? Regardless what I've said or people think about David Duke, who's running for Senate, I have a few problems with him and his philosophies also. But let's stand up for the truth here. I lived in New Orleans. This is personal to me. I lived in New Orleans, and they want to tear down Jackson Square. Okay, they want to tear down a historical site with a statue in the center, with the wrought iron gate around it. It's like a little park monument. It's centered. It's kind of like the centerpiece of the French Quarter. You got the St. Louis Cathedral right behind it, and Pirates Alley behind it, and and then Decatur Street in front, and you got all these nice shops where you walk around and shop, and it's part of the history. It's historical, okay? People that know anything about Old Hickory, he was a good president. He did a lot of good things. He stood up, and in a lot of ways he was heroes. He was a great president, and here's the problem I have. Every kind of person has flaws. Every one of our heroes has had flaws or something, or not everybody agree with a philosophical point of view. See, this is about your philosophical point of view being dictated over our heritage and our history and what we have had and created and done and benefited from, and what we learn, how we learn from the past. How do we do that if we eliminate it? Now, okay, so when you start doing this, what you're doing is you're enticing white communities to get more angry and more upset. David Duke went down and was the only one down there. Now, whether this was even, here's the problem. The people that are protesting this kind of stuff, okay, that are they're coming in busloads. 70 and 80% are from out of state. So they're not even, it's not even the locals that give a damn. Okay, the locals don't care. They've lived with Jackson Square for all this time, and they don't give a shit. I know, because they could care less. They know their history. They know their places, and the locals are cool, okay? I'm not going to say, yeah, I want to go hang out with some black people in New Orleans. What I'm saying is they are cool with their backgrounds, okay? That's why all these people are from out of state that are upset. Has to be 70 and 80%, okay? So when it's David Duke is down there trying, and he had to call the police to stop them, He had to call the police to stop these people from tearing down our heritage. It really struck me, because like I said, I was in the process of just telling my wife, look, because she showed me a Cracker Barrel thing on Facebook. They want to change Cracker Barrel because they're feel like they're victimized by the name or something. So Anyway, so when I told her this is just a subtle attack on another attack on our heritage and stuff, then I turned on Fascist Lemming, and he's cuffing the hell out of these people. You know, so it looks like that he got some credit due for this, because you know what's right is right. You know what, you know, good and bad and all that kind of thing. You know, nobody's perfect. Nobody's good. Okay, there's people that try to be good. And there's try to. That's really the point, is to be right. Okay, being right is better than being good, because if you think you're good, you're fooling yourself. Human nature has never been always good. Even your scripture teaches you that. But I hope you like my Jack crown. And you know, I'm trying to think outside the box here. All right. And I don't want this to be viewed as me trying to like be a what do you call, a radical or white supremacist or anything like that. I'd consider myself more of a white preservist, or you know, for the preservation of European American rights, okay, that are victimized. Because if you can take 33rd Street and name it Muhammad Ali in New York City, after a person who was known to have a racial philosophy and a racial divide, although he was not a hateful racist outwardly, and I agreed with some of his philosophy, but not all of it. The point is, you see me demanding that they tear down his street or anything about your heroes, the black heroes, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. All these people are the same kind of thing. You can't, it's flaws in people's characters or a disagreement in philosophy. You cannot eliminate people's histories because of this. Okay? Nelson Mandela, you want to look at his history, he was a murderer. Okay? Go see what Nelson Mandela did as a young person throughout his life, and why he was actually in prison. Okay? What put him in prison? Okay? And then go tell me this person was a good guy. So, you have Nelson Mandela statues. Alright, if this is an attack on that kind of thing, and what this is it's really a racial thing. They want their way. See, the liberals, the problem is, you've got these liberals on one side with their multiracial, including anti-white whites. So you got smart anti-white whites, you've got Hispanics, you've got Asians, you've got blacks, right? That back these up because they're liberals. These Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. And they should be condemning that, because it's basically the same thing as what they're trying to condemn white groups and alternative news, I call it, you know. I want to attack all that. So the thing is, just because you have a philosophical difference now doesn't mean that you're right or wrong. But here's the thing. You've got the liberals with all these multiracial groups, and then you've got mostly whites and some pro-white blacks that understand the difference, and they don't want to be stuck in that box. Okay? So basically, the problem is that these different races are adding numbers to whoever backs the Black Lives Matter group, okay? So they get backing by all these multiracial groups, and it gives them numbers and like a leverage type thing, okay? But the problem with that is that these now when they have these kind of attacks on people, who are they attacking? And it's pretty obvious directly. Who are they attacking? Who are they angry with? And who's going to benefit mostly from this? Not multiracial groups. They're going to say it's because, this heals everybody, all the groups, or whatever they think. If you don't like the history of places, don't go there. If I like Japanese history, okay, and I like some of the Asian history. Me personally, I like Japan. Okay, I'd love to go to Japan. What do you think I'm going to go to Japan, and if I see a statue, or I'm in disagreement with the philosophy of Buddha, or I see a statue of one of their emperors over there that had been enslaved some people, and they don't care, it's their history, so they're proud of it and they keep it. Is it right for me to go over there, or say if I was one of them, to go up and just start tearing down our stuff, tearing down their statues? Tearing down the statues of their historical sites. These are historical land sites. These are historical spots. This is not just white history. It's history, period. And you're trying to do a 1984. What the blacks don't understand, they need to read the book 1984. They need to understand that liberalism is a mental disorder, as Michael Savage has stated many times. It is a mental disorder. It's a mental disorder. Okay? That is true. But the problem is, like I said, they have these big groups, racial groups, to back them up that are but who benefits most? Who benefits most from them backing up? It's black people benefit most. So you're paving the road or the way for black movement, and at the same time you're attacking what you would consider a white movement, which is not really a movement. It's just white people that are here, and it's their history. Okay. Let's see statues of, and then it's a statue of everything else. Now, Cracker Barrel. Okay. Okay, back to Cracker Barrel. Now you want to tear down the name of racist names. You want to tear down the names of anything you want to just attack, because it's something you can just latch onto. Okay? You love to latch onto it and attack any little thing, but it's reverse racism, reverse psychology. And if you were actually any real liberals, you would be condemning both sides, actually, because you should never side with a race, because that's not liberal. That's not what liberals are supposed to be. And I'm not talking about libertarian, because people don't understand what libertarian is. They don't know politics. Some people just don't know politics, so they don't know the different groups. It's totally different than a libertarian. Okay, libertarian and liberal different. So don't confuse the two. But the point is, the liberals are backing. Now, who's going to benefit at the end of the road? Who benefits the most from the road that they made? Blacks. So, in the long run, it's basically a racial divide. This is a divide and conquer move. This is a psyop. What this did, this fascist limbing video, what this did, is made me face the man in the mirror, and say, this makes me angry. See, this triggers that's the trigger. The heartstrings, they want to trigger. They wanted me to make this video. They want me to get angry. They want me to get outraged. They want me to get upset. Have you noticed that I'm not really cussing as much as I would or could? And I don't want to, because I want this to be serious. I want this to be real. I want people to not be tuned out. I want you to tune in, because this is a trigger, but it's a natural trigger for what they're trying to do. But we should not be falling for the brainwashing, because this is a big brainwash operation. This is a psyop. They want that anger. The whites are not getting angry enough. They are not getting outraged enough. They're not standing up. They aren't falling for this shit. They could care less. They want to go back. They want to go to their jobs. They want to get their jobs, pay their bills, and watch, football and drink beer. And that's all good for the white American. But the thing is, they are being attacked and they don't realize it, and they don't care. And this is like I said, this is a brainwash operation. Because what they do, they want us all to riot. They want us all up in arms and angry. They want this civil war. They want civil unrest. They want us to get all mad, and it's not working. We're too smart for it. We see what's going on, and we're not falling for it. See, we're getting smart. We're getting angry about it, but we're not letting it make us go out and go crazy and burn shit up and tear up shit. We gotta have, we gotta have our favorite football teams win or lose in our own state or whatever, for that kind of stuff, for white people to get out and riot, which is unfortunate too in a way, but that's a whole nother subject we could go on for an hour about. But this white lives matter, black lives matter, that's just racial in itself. It just says it right there, you know. Reverse everything in the situations and tell me if you don't think that you're insulted by it, you know. It started going around, and out of the blue, you know, what if Trump's people, before you had your Black Lives Matter movement, what if white people just had that movement with Trump's people and stuff, backing it up, saying white lives matter? They had the blue lives matter, okay? And blue lives matter, I'm not going to say all lives matter. And I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about disgusting humans inside, okay? We all have flaws. Like I said, Andrew Jackson has flaws. Okay, but you tear down the history. You're tearing down history. You have no business tearing down history. Okay, this is erasing our history, taking away our culture. And what do you want to put it? And I've been to Congo Square. I've been down to a lot of places. I lived in the French Quarter. I lived in New Orleans. I've been downtown New Orleans in the actual, not in the French Quarter, outside in the city part, in the urban part. And guess what? I was one little white dot in a sea of blackness. But you know what? I wasn't mistreated, not once. All they did was just kind of look at me like, what are you doing out here? You're supposed to be in the French Quarter. You know, that's about it. I was never treated wrong. They were just like looking at me curious, like, what are you doing out here? You know, like, not mad or insulted, but kind of like curious, like, why would this white person venture outside of the French Quarter? Like they were clueless, like they just couldn't comprehend, you know, and they were curious, very curious. They're curious people too. And so they were very curious about that white person walking around. But anyway, that's another story. I told you before, I lived in New Orleans. I love New Orleans, okay? Don't get me wrong, I don't think I ever want to live there again, but I'd love to visit that place, and I'd stand up any time. If I had gas and money, I'd be down there with David Duke, and I would have been standing right next to him. Not because I back everything David Duke says, but because when someone's right, they're right. And if you want to be right, you stand with the right when they're right. And when someone's wrong, you don't stand with the wrong. And that's wrong. That's wrong because that is hypocrisy. That's black hypocrisy, that's liberal hypocrisy. And, you know, if they want to take down the monuments like that, all right, here's the thing I say. I'm fine with that. That's fine. You want to tear down the monuments. But guess what? You've got to tear down all the black monuments and all the other racial monuments in America. Because that's what makes it equal then. So guess what? No more Martin Luther King Boulevard. No more Martin Luther King schools. No more Malcolm X boulevards. No more Muhammad Ali. No more, and on and on and on. And guess what? Black Lives Matter. Most of them are criminals. Yeah. 80% of them are just criminals. They're thugs. Okay? This is their version of a cheap-ass black Gestapo. Okay, this is your black Gestapo from your black Nazi, wannabe Nazi president. See, he's using the Nazi philosophy and the insider strings of the Illuminati, the Freemason society, which actually controls all branches of everything racial in and out, which includes your black Islam and your white Nazis. They control, don't argue with that, okay, because at a certain point there's a level where they do. You're all in the cog, zog, wheel, okay? You're all stuck in it. You think you're not? You think you're not. When you think you're part of a racial identity group that's separate, there is always a mole, there's always somebody there, there's always someone that's there to destabilize and not represent the real truth of the matter. And when someone's right, you should stand with right. And them going down and tearing down that statue, that's not a democracy. That's called a mob. Okay? That's not democracy. That's not liberalism. Because liberalism is supposed to be freedom of expression, and, well, it means to be free, to choose. Now, having that statue is also liberal, because it's our freedom, it's our heritage, and it's our choice to choose if we want it or not. So that's the ultimate liberalism. That's real liberalism. That was the real original liberalism, not this phony, fake, Zog, Black Lives Matter, disgusting mob of idiots that are just puppets. All right? But like I said before, this is just a trigger. So that's why I'm talking to the man in the mirror, because the man in the mirror is the flesh. Okay? And because it upsets me and it triggers whatever brainwashing technique they are using on the masses to trigger us with, that is what triggered this. And this is what they're doing. They are doing this to trigger us. They want us angry. They want us upset. They want us mad. They want us to get up and be like Black Lives Matter. And what this is actually is driving more and more white people over to the alternate extreme side. See? But this is what they want. This is what they want. They want the division. They want the division because they know that programming's work. Okay? They've been working on this programming for a long time, and they've gotten very good at it. They just have not been using it in mass on white people the way they are right now, by using reverse racism and white guilt type techniques. It's been subtle, but now it was a subtle poking and prodding thorn in our side, but now it's an attack. It's not a thorn. It's turned into a little excuse my language, a little dagger, and then eventually it's going to be a sword, and nobody's going, by the time whites wake up and start to take action and recognize what's going on here, and not just whites, but regular Americans, to stand up for our constitutional rights, because that's what's actually the issue here, and that's what's being attacked, is our constitutional rights and our historical values. Okay, that's what's in question. So, when you want to attack like Cracker Barrel and all these other places, then you better take all these, anything, soul food. I don't want to see, we don't want to see that either. All right? So, you got to, if you're going to tear it, fine, tear down all our historical monuments. But you're going to tear all yours down too in the process. You're going to have to. You're going to have to, because that's only fair. That, if not, then you become a hypocrite. You're becoming hypocrite. Like a hipparu. Okay? Stiff necks. All right? All right, and I like that. All these Googles and Skypes, that's a good one, fascist. You know what? You're doing the cuffing now, and I'm starting to appreciate what you are doing, cuffing these people. Because before you were getting cuffed, and it looks like you're doing the cuffing, and the thing is, like I said, do I stand with David Duke on everything? No. And I've said what I've said in the past about David Duke, that I don't care. I'm not an Alex Jones type where I'm like, oh, everything he says, I'm just going to counter it. No, I agree with a lot of things he's saying, but that's what you're supposed to do. Just like with the blacks and their, Pharaoh Khan that they listen to, and their Reverend Jesse Jackson and Al Sharptons and all these, phony frauds, that they would not have a job if they didn't keep racial division stirred up. These people would not have a job if they didn't keep this racial stuff stirred up. So, game over for straight white traditional marriage and couples. That's what this is. Even this bumper sticker is kind of like insulting brainwashing for Hicks and hillbilly white people that think that this is just a funny thing. This is probably a Google. This is probably a Google and a Skype operation under Illuminati Freemasonry, and this is a little secret sign, and they're smiling and laughing, saying, ha 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 ha, that's the end of the white traditional marriage. because there's a ball and chain. It's symbolic. They're smiling. It says game over. They're not talking about once you get married, the game's over. What they're really talking about is game over for white people in general. Marriage, traditional marriage. That's what the real message has. And they neuter the man. See, he's only got one ball. He's half neutered. They want him to be gender bending. Okay. And look, she's got something in her hand, a rolling pin or something. She can hit him over the head or whatever she's got to do to him. But game over with it. And it's supposed to look like, she has some flowers, like a thing of flowers in her hands, or something. When you look up, it start to get closer and closer. But to me, it looks like a box of popcorn, like she's ready for a show. Anyway. So that's really actually an insult, and people ride around with that like, hey, like white, just your normal average simpleton white, like rednecks and stuff, or hillbillies, or just white people in general, and they think, this is funny, and they don't realize this is a subtle brainwashing message right here. Game over. It doesn't mean, they think it's a funny joke about marriage, but it's a funny joke about white traditional lives. And male and female roles in white community. Game over. Okay, but so if we let this continue, and because you don't like someone's philosophy, when they're right, they're right. Whether you like their philosophy or not, someone's right. You stand with the right. And just because the statue was a slave owner, all those presidents, mostly in the old times before that, were all slave owners. A lot of them were slave owners. So, and they want to act like Abraham Lincoln was such a great guy, for freed the slaves, they say, Emancipation Proclamation and all that. Or you look back at, and then the blacks kind of like him because he's like their favorite because, he's like Abe Lincoln's the only good president, okay? But guess what? You look back on Abe Lincoln's writings and stuff he was writing and letters he was writing, he was racist as racist could be. He was a bigot racist. He was an outright racist. And you want to celebrate his birthday? You got to stop that now. And so, this is how it goes. So, you want to keep Martin Luther King Boulevard, you want to keep those kind of things. Oh, how about this? The Michael Jackson Neverland Ranch, okay? The reopening, dedicating to Michael Jackson. Well, he's got the last name Jackson. And that makes me think of Andrew Jackson. And that gets me insulted. How about if I said that? How about if I was insulted by the idea that maybe this guy might have been playing with the little kids the wrong way? What about that? How does that sound? Because if you say it that way, then you can put an attack on that kind of culture, that kind of lifestyle. Okay? What we don't know, acquitted and, never convicted of the crimes that they said. But the point is, people still think, and, you could even say, well, I'm insulted by the name Jackson in general because of Andrew Jackson. General President, Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory. Okay? So, basically, like I said, it's 1984. It's a process of eliminating any kind of personal pride, love, recognition, and making everyone one thing to hate anything outside of what they're preaching, what they're telling you. The government's telling you to live this way. You all want to act like you're so anti-government, black communities. You've fallen for the strings. You're being pulled along. You are. You think, and you think every time when you do this Black Lives Matter stuff that it's helping your community, it's making you look good. You really think that makes you look good, but it doesn't. All it does is prove that the white people, when they try to make us angry, they don't get much of nothing because we know better. We know how to relax and kick back unless there's a real threat. But you guys want to bitch and whine and moan and complain about every little freaking thing on planet Earth that twitches you the wrong way. You make shit up every day just to be pissed off at white people, or people in general around you. You're control freaks is what you are. Yeah. You have been basically raped by Zionist operative, Zio-Nazi type of just George Soros, you know. Go look it up, you know. Check the guy out, you know. You think you're social justice warriors and all this stuff, and you're really just injustice, because it's not a social justice. This is a crime, preventing us from actually sharing and displaying our history through statues and memorials and monuments, is preventing us from a freedom of expression, okay? Which is part of art. Okay, the statue is art, okay? You agree? No, we don't agree with all the art we see, and some of these artists have been insane and crazy and done crazy nutso things. But they sit there and sell their art all damn day long for millions of dollars. So, you know, you don't agree with someone's philosophy, but you like their art, that's fine. But here's the thing. You can like the art, you don't have to agree with the person. But when the person's wrong, then they're wrong. So you're going to stand with right or stand with wrong. And in the long run, this liberal mental disorder has taken over all these Black Lives Matter, and that's the string that's attached to the Zog. That's one of the tentacles of the Freemason Illuminati, right there. People got to recognize this is all insider jobs, because they're compartmentalized. So each group thinks that they're, you know, not the ones that are not on the inside. They think that this is a real issue battles, and then they get the people rallied up so it looks real. Okay. But like I said, why would they have, look, if it was a real issue for the people of Louisiana, the people there, the actual people there, then they would have been up there rallied up with them. But they had to have 70 and 80% of the people from out of state to protest. Okay, like the ones in Charlotte too. But Andrew Jackson Square is a historical monument, and I'd hate to see it teared down. Not because I agree with everything that Andrew Jackson did, but because I've lived there, I've been there. It's part of the history, it's part of the culture, it's part of the people's history. Whether you agree with the philosophy or the times back then, you can't just go down tearing down the history. It's beautiful. I like walking around seeing the historical stuff there. It's great. It's great. It's a great thing. And it's beautiful. And it's a centerpiece for historical, it's been a centerpiece for a historical down, you know, the historical French Quarter. It's like a centerpiece for it, right with the cathedral, you know. All right, you know, and St. Louis Cathedral, okay. What has the Catholics done over the history? And the so-called Christian church, the Catholics done over the history. Let's look at how many people they've murdered and killed and maimed in their own names because they were subject to this and that, and what kind of prejudices they had. And let's go ahead and tear down that cathedral then, because I'm insulted by the Catholic Church's activities ever since the inception of it. What about that? Because we don't like Constantine, and we don't like Roman emperors. Oh no, the Catholics and the black Catholics would be in an uproar if you went down. And you'd even probably have stupid Protestants going and arguing for it, to keep it, just because they have the right to. But you know what? That's a freedom of religion. See? Then that'd be an attack on freedom of religion. But then they'd say, well, no, you can keep your religion, you just have to change the name of the church. Or tear it down. See? See what this is going with? You open a can, and you can't shut it. It's called a Pandora's box. And you're not going to be able to shut this one. I'm telling you. Is that Love Clark? Love you guys. When someone's right, they're right. Whether you like the vessel or not, whether you like the message or not, it's not the damn messenger's fault if you don't like what you hear or you're disturbed by it. Okay, so don't take it out on the messenger. Okay, you take it out on the person that sent the message if you don't like it. You understand what I'm saying? So being right, getting a message out there is the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Alright, it's at Love Clark. Love you guys. Love.